All right. Well, listeners, I have a special treat for you. I have Matt Smith out of Albany, New York with Ace Home Inspection. How you doing this morning, Matt?
I'm great. How are you, Preston?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you a while. I've seen some of your stuff on Facebook and on the groups and things there, and a lot of people say good things about you. So I was kind of excited about this interview. For all the listeners, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but for us, it's like really early in the morning on Saturday morning, but that's all right. We wanted to do it early. We just had that talk about, doing stuff so it doesn't mess up the rest of your day. But Matt, tell us a little bit about you. We'd like to get to know you personally.
Well, I'm a single operating home inspector up here in upstate New York. I'm 35 years old. I've been doing home inspections for about 10 years.
Okay.
Previously before that, I was in the medical field, and really made a radical change and switched over and found a niche with doing home inspections. I was one of the guys who took one of those courses and really succeeded well, and really attribute it to the home inspection community that I joined immediately, my local ASHI group, and they really helped me grow into something pretty significant. And I'm forever grateful for that. So yeah, I'm having a great time up here, making great relationships with people, loving it, learning new things, talking to people like you. And I've been down to Florida, talked to a lot of people in the Inspector Brotherhood group. So yeah, man, I'm having a blast doing it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, a couple of things there. I want to back up on medical profession. Just out of curiosity, I'll sort of lay it out. What specifically were you doing? And then second, so what made you, or what gave you the idea of home inspection? And how did you get from medical to doing home inspections?
Yeah, when I was in high school, I always knew, well, you kind of know, like everybody has this preconceived notion that real estate makes you a lot of money. And I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with real estate. And I had started buying rental properties when I was 18 years old. And
wow.
I had no idea what I was doing. I was just working hard and putting them together. So I'm sure somebody's inspecting my work right now going, who the hell did this? But that's what I started doing. And as I was having the inspections, I said, this would be a great thing for me, because I'm more of a hit and run kind of guy. I don't like to have these long, drawn out processes with people. So that was the case even in the medical field. So at the time, there was a need for radiographers and X-ray tech, and they were paying a lot of money, a lot of money. So, right. And it was a quick 2-year degree. And I said, this is great because I only got to deal with the patients for, a few minutes and get out.
Right.
So that's what I did. I got my 2-year degree, and I moved on, and I started, pursuing medical college. Got into medical college, and I'll never forget, I woke up one day and I just said, I don't really want to be 35 years old starting off with my life. So I didn't quite really know what I wanted to do. So I started buying more properties, and I got fired from a job. And I said, well, I'm going to have the unemployment coming in. I said, I might as well do something. I need to make something of myself, because it was a reoccurring pattern. I was having troubles, kind of working in the medical field. And I actually was very, very blessed to have worked for this company where we were mobile. So we had a machine that we put in a car, and he was ultra flexible with me. He was like the coolest boss, and he would allow me to go do inspections on, with the car, and I would go do them and take a longer lunch break. So I was really able to grow my inspection business along with working a full-time job. And then he allowed me to be part-time. And it was just, I was really able to weave those in there. I started in 2008, which was probably the worst time I ever started a home inspection.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I was growing. And, I attribute it to being around some great people, and especially this business owner. I really took advantage of the opportunities that were in front of me, because I realized the opportunities that would come to me later down the road, with this company. I'm very good at getting what I want. I don't really believe in a work-life balance. I just believe in living a good life. And having that job allowed me to do that for a while, and I exhausted it because there was no longer a shortage. So everybody went back to regular pay, which at the time was like $17 an hour. I'm like, this isn't when you go from making 3-4 times that down to 17 an hour, you're like, you try to find something else to get you back to that point. And home inspections really did that for me. I did a lot of self-education, had a lot of guys in my local ASHI group that let me go along with them. And that's where I learned to be a professional. And that's what I attribute that local chapter to, is, how to be a professional. Because you could teach anyone to look at a roof. You could teach anybody to look at a sewer line for the most part. But it's the professional aspect, I think, is really what separates somebody who makes it or doesn't make it.
Yeah. I want to back up on one thing he said there. I was like that too out of high school, because, you're just trying to figure out what professions. I mean, it's just a smart thing to do to make a lot of money. Or, I know that sounds really shallow, but I mean, if you grow up, I was kind of poor. I mean, I'm trying to get out of the trailer park, man.
Yep.
But, what strikes me about what you said was, hey, yeah, I didn't have to deal with the patients that long. And okay, so, and then, you think about what we do now, and, we have to deal with callbacks. Well, my father was a mortician, and he never had callbacks. And there's some days I'm like, man, after, with 2 or 3 callbacks, I'm like, that mortician thing's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, well, that's a great business to get into, but that's my understanding is a family business.
Yeah, it is pretty much. Yeah, in fact, I just wrote a thing the other day about, I kind of compared it. I don't want to. When we get back to you here in a minute, I don't want to get, I'll hijack your interview. But, it is a family business. But for the most part, everybody you meet in the funeral business, for the most part, is like their dad. Nobody just all of a sudden like, yeah, man, I want to embalm dead people.
Right.
But, my father, the way he got into it, though, he started working for a funeral home in high school. And then he went in the Army. And he came back out. He started working for them. And, like you, it was like, man, you can make pretty good money. And he started his own, and he actually kind of ran up against a lot of trouble because, he was going up against all these well-established. But anyway, neither here nor there. A couple of years later, about 20 years ago, all these corporations started buying up funeral homes. They wanted to make it corporate. And they still own some today, but it didn't go over as well as they thought. You know how, like, Home Depot and Lowe's came in and all these, big box took over, small, and they wanted to get in the funeral business. But, my whole point was it didn't go as well as they thought because, a funeral is something very personal. And you want to go back to the same person who buried your granddad or your grandma, and, because them. You went to school with their kids or something, you know what I mean? And it's just not the corporate thing didn't go well with that. So I made this comparison to that, to real estate, where you got all these, companies moving in, and I don't know, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but a lot of times really good real estate agents, people use the same real estate agent over and over because it's a very personal thing. It's one thing if, you're buying, diapers for your kid. You can buy that at Walmart, you can buy that at Family Dollar. It's a commodity item. But when you're burying a loved one, or you're buying a house where all your memories are going to be made, or selling a house where they were made, I'm thinking there's a personal touch, like and trust there that might not go the corporate route. I don't know.
Well, I think that's exactly what's made me successful at home inspections is I realized that, I just take the emotions that I've had buying houses and trials and tribulations and applying it to other people. And you're in a peak emotional state.
Right.
And by the time I get to people, or we get to people, they're already starting to get a little ticked off. They're starting to become frazzled and
process.
Yeah. And like to be able to reverse that, make them feel good again and make them realize why they want to buy a house again is really how I built my business. And, the agents love it. The clients love it. I always try to make it just like it's a good time.
Yeah.
And, sometimes, man, you find some things wrong and people get down. And I just look at them and I go, what the best part of this is? These aren't your problems. This isn't your house.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they're like, you know what? You're right. And they feel very confident again. So it's just instilling that confidence in these people. And it's a close relationship. When you're in that emotional state, you don't want just anybody or somebody because you want the best. You want somebody who's going to do a great job as a mortician. You don't want to just wing it.
I'm sorry I went down that route, but there are some parallels. There definitely are some parallels.
Yeah, there definitely is with any business, I feel. It's always the personal touch and how you can make people feel in the experience. And I think everything else kind of comes after that. And most people try to put it the other way around. I just don't think it's as successful. I think the relationships is most important to sustain something and to keep it going. I think it becomes more organic to do it that way.
Yeah, you said something really good there that I had never really thought about, but you're right. That, when people go out and look at a house, they're really excited. They're looking at a bunch of different, and they make that offer, they're really excited. But typically what happens is that offer goes back and forth, and the sell, there's a little bit of a souring of their excitement, like you said. And then, there's this loan process going on in the background, and there's a little bit of, like you said, they were so excited and so happy, but now the process that they start entering the not as fun part of it.
Yeah.
and sometimes they're a little bit down on it, and they kind of have a little bit of buyer's remorse. I mean, whenever you buy anything, especially that big, and they accept the offer, then they start thinking, well, did I pay too much? Should I bought that other house? I mean, just all kinds of, it's just a natural thing. And then you come in to do the home inspection right at this time when they're not as excited as they were, or possibly having a little bit of remorse. And like you said, I mean, you come in there, found this problem, this problem, this problem. Holy shit. You now have confirmed their doubts, which is natural. I mean, everybody has buyer's remorse, especially when they're buying something big.
Yeah.
With me, I'm like, damn, did I really need that 4-pound Reese's super thing? What the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
But that's good, man. And I can see how we sort of get labeled deal killers when we're not. Obviously there might be a few deal killers, but I think a lot of it's the timing of when it is.
Right.
It's when we come in there, like you said, and then we come in after they've already made a financial negotiation, and now you have brought to the attention something that has more financial ramifications, and they already both compromised. They're pissed off. I mean, it's kind of like shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Well, they get
I didn't do the damage, but I'm the messenger. But man, what's that old story where the king would kill the messenger if he didn't like the message? So
yeah.
So what happened is people would start lying to the king and not telling the truth because they didn't want to get killed.
Yeah. Well, they're very vulnerable at that point, and ignoring that, I think, is very ignorant as a business owner. Everybody knows their credit score. Everybody knows how much money's in their bank. They know all the details of their divorce. If it's a divorce situation, it's very personal. If I were to walk up to somebody and say, "How much money do you make before taxes?" They look at you like you're crazy. Well, a bunch of strangers know that information about them, and there are vulnerable situations where this can be taken away from them. Their emotions are spiking and they're dropping, and you're just another hurdle in the way where you could take that dream away from them, because what they think is going to happen and what's really happening are two different things. They're writing checks, they're paying for things, so they're invested in something that they don't really own yet.
Right.
It's like buying a car where you would lose no money if you didn't want the car, but in this situation, you would be out, appraisal fees or inspection fees. So yeah, very, very vulnerable, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to know how to deal with people. And dealing with people, I think, is everything in business.
Absolutely.
That's my go-to for everything. You can learn about a furnace, but to understand people is, man, you spend a lifetime trying to do that. But if you just care a little bit and you try to resonate, your feelings when you bought a house or bought anything, or when you were upset with customer service somewhere, and you just take a step back and you just really want to help these people and, make them believe in their dreams again. I think that's the golden ticket, and I think really appreciate that. Lenders appreciate that. Just try to facilitate, a great experience, as well as doing a quality inspection. You can't forget that too.
Absolutely. I'm going to add something else, and what you said is excellent, and I hadn't really thought about that, and I'm glad you brought that to my attention. But something that this sort of along the same lines to add to it, I had a psychology class in college like a million years ago, and I remembered this, and I looked it up, and it was like the top 5 or 10 things that cause people stress in their life, or that can cause stress. Number 1 is death of a child. Hopefully nobody ever has to go through that. And divorce. Obviously number 1, it's horrible. Nobody. But in the top 5 or top 7 or 8 was divorce, new job, new baby. And I started thinking, I was like, usually when somebody's buying a house, they're going through not death of a child, hope to God, but a lot of times, a new job, new house, divorce. So they're already going through a new town, they're already going through some of life's biggest stressors. So they already have that going on along with the other stuff you said. So they're an emotional, they got a lot of change and transition going on. So, you got to be a professional, do a great inspection, but you got to present it. I think presentation is everything, and that's what I always tell my guys, present them with the problems, but you've got to frame it. Is this really, really bad and good Lord, run away from this house? Or is this something that can be fixed? Or is this pretty typical for something in this house? I'm not saying ignore it, but if I inspect another house in this neighborhood, I would expect roughly the same stuff for the age of the house. So I'm always like, you got to frame it. And for all the listeners out there, I'm not saying sugarcoat it. I'm sure some people are hearing that, but that is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is they probably don't have a reference or a framework for what you're telling them. So you need to provide that, in my mind. Now, again, not sugarcoat it, not say don't worry about something, but you do. But is this typical? Is this, really bad? That sort of thing. I
agree. Well, I find that sometimes, you can be insulting people, and sometimes somebody wants that dream of owning a home, and you don't know what their why is. My job, I think what a lot of problems people have is they want to give somebody an inspection that they will maybe want when they buy a home. So first, I find out what these people need or what they want or what their expectations are. You come in and you start finding all these problems, and it turns out that their father's an electrician and they already know about it. They don't really want to hear about it. So I don't try to make it such a negative experience. So there are a lot of times I go into an inspection, there are 3 dads there,
the uncle who did AC.
And I love that. I love
follow you around.
Yeah, I love it though. I want everybody around. I like an audience. I'm very confident in what I do. And I always say we're on the same team. The more eyes, the better. But anyways, you can be insulting somebody because they may only be able to afford $100,000 home.
Right.
And you're sitting here, slamming on, the molding or some of these things. So I'm not saying look past them, but you have to frame it and present it in a way where I always just tell them, look, I'm going to put all these things in a report just so you have a nice checklist of some things, to have a really nice house. So I'm sure you're not going to live here forever. And, when you move on and, you have a different house, some things to look for, when you buy another house. And it kind of gives somebody some hopes. That's what everybody thinks when they buy, a house that may be in distress. They already know it's in distress.
Right.
If you put it in a way where you're kind of picking on the house, you shatter their confidence. And they're already in that vulnerable state that we talked about earlier. So you really have, I try to be very uplifting with a lot of people, the agents, and everybody, and make it a great experience at that time. And even though there are issues, present them fairly.
Well, it can be fixed.
Right.
And I always, and again, I want to say this to everybody listening. I am not advocating sugarcoating, not at all. It's just, like you just said, don't insult anybody. I had, some of the best feelings for what I do. I can remember specific inspections where I inspected a house for a single parent, 3 kids, going through a lot of stuff. And, they're buying $100,000 house.
Yeah.
And, it's all they can afford. And, the HVAC shot, roof shot. But you know what? Fortunately, not always, but I can remember one specifically, they got a new furnace. They got a new roof.
Yeah.
And that made me feel good, man. I did my, and for all the listeners out there, I'm not saying I got a roof or got a furnace, like some sort, it needed it. It was shot.
Right.
But because of the inspection, because you did your job. You protected this person. You should protect everybody equally, but this person needed it more than anything because they were already struggling financially, a lot of other stuff. And, you did your job. That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
I did buy the house, and that was a great first step, because she was living in this terrible apartment before that. And now she had a yard, was in a kind of decent schools, a lot better than she was, you know. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I usually work with a lot of real estate professionals that feel and operate the same way I do. So I'm always on the same page. I'm never afraid to call something the way it is. You know, they don't want their clients buying a home, you know, maybe a single mom that's, you know, has mold all throughout the basement, et cetera. You know, they want to get these problems fixed.
Right.
And they fight for them. And, you know, I can confidently say with all of my referral sources that, you know, when I look at the client, I say, listen, you know, you have a great agent here, and they're not going to, you know, they're not going to let something bad happen to you. That's why we do these inspections. That's why we are here. Then, you know, you make them feel confident. You make the agent feel confident. And I always go back to, look, these aren't your problems right now. Somebody else let us go in and look at their problems, you know, and if they have a good agent, which, you know, there are good agents out there. I know everybody's, you know, these agents have a stigma with inspectors and with the world, but I know I work with people who they fight for their clients, and they fight really hard for their clients. They love their clients, and their reputation matters. And truthfully, those are the only people I really want to work with anyways. So it's easy for me. You know, I don't have to sugarcoat anything. If I do sugarcoat anything, it ruins my reputation.
Absolutely.
And it ruins the agent's reputation. So we all go at this together, you know, and we do what we have to do to make sure the client's protected, because it just builds residual business.
That's right. Well, and you know, I'm from a small town, and it's all like a small town, really. You're going to see everybody in the grocery store sooner or later.
Yeah.
And, you know, first of all, it's the right thing to do. You protect your client, you do what's right. But the other thing is, it's smart business, because if you look at it with a long-term view, you know, yeah, I want to protect this client, but I you know, not that I do it because of this, but it is smart business. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And the agent who's good does it because it's the right thing to do, protect the client. But, you know, you're looking for the business down the road too, that, you know, hey, Matt Smith is a good dude. He did my inspection. He told me all this stuff straight. He was neutral. You should use this guy, you know, versus, you know, this guy just, you know, I know a lot of home inspectors have this feeling of realtors that, you know, they turn and burn, you know, just get that commission check. And, you know, I mean, are there some bad real estate agents? Absolutely. Are there some bad home inspectors? Absolutely. But there's some really good ones too. And like you said, those are the ones I prefer to, you know, it's all a small town because your reputation is everything. And, you know, I get a little flack now and then, not as much as I used to, you know, oh, he wears those crazy pants. It's a gimmick. He's got all these gimmicks and blah, blah, blah. And he does all this, you know, it pisses me off. And anybody who's listening to this, I want to tell you right now, sorry, a little upset. It pisses me off when somebody accuses you, oh, because you market, you don't do a good inspection. Like those are mutually exclusive. Let me tell you something right now. The pants, whatever marketing you do, that only gets them to use you one time. If you don't do a good job, they're not going to use you. You know, I've got agents that use us 58 times. Well, obviously the pants didn't make them call us the 58th time. You know, so all I'm saying is, and then sometimes I see it. Somebody's marketing really good, and you're like, you know, there's a little jealousy factor, and I have it too. But you know what? Just because they're marketing doesn't mean they don't do a good inspection too. I mean, I think some people have this feeling that because they market a lot, they don't do a good inspection. Or if they do a good inspection, they don't need to market. Granted, doing a good inspection is a form of marketing. It absolutely is. But sorry.
I know what you're saying, and I agree. And I think a lot of people get into home inspections because they're doing construction for so long.
Right.
And they rely on their technical abilities. And
that's important. It's important.
It is, but they think that's what's going to get them in. They think all the acronyms after their name and all these associations and everything, they don't matter.
They're good. I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying you shouldn't have them, but I'm saying it's not enough. Because to the average client and the average, you know, they don't know what that means. That you know, that's a big ego thing for you among your buddies because they all know what it means. You know, it's like I used to be into bodybuilding way back, you know, and you can overdo it, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, there's a couple of girls that like the, you know, look like you put your finger in your thumb and blew yourself up. But when you get to that point, you're just trying to impress your buddies.
Right.
You know, if you really want to impress girls, just look good. I mean, like the Solo Flex dude.
If you really want to, I always use this comparison.
When you're trying to impress your buddies, you've gone too far.
if you're really trying to impress girls, you got to listen to them because it's an emotional connection with women.
Same thing with your clients.
Yeah, and I tell a lot of home inspectors, if you need a female brain, if you have a female brain, you'll do really well. Because the male brain is just, it's primal. It's just, it goes into a different, it's about money or it's about something else. But if you have the female brain where you listen and you try to tap into the emotion and feel somebody's emotion.
More intuitive.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Clinton was fantastic at that. That's why he was so successful becoming president. So I always use him as a comparison, and it works. It really does. So, really understanding and listening to people, I think is the key, because everybody wants to do it the way they think it should be done. I did roofs for, 30 years. You hear it all the time, and that's great. And I love those people, but then they don't know how to market because they don't really understand people, because you don't really need to as a roofer or a plumber all the time. And it's new for them, and they don't know what to do. So they see somebody who does good marketing and they get really upset. There are more than one way to do everything. I'm never a jealous person. I like everybody. I like to see everybody, well, not everybody, but I like to see people who I think are deserving, rise up and really succeed. And if you hit, a nail the right way, I think you should, enjoy what comes to you from that. And I respect that. And I like it. And there's always something to learn. And I think where people get jealous about something is very irresponsible as a business owner, because, but they'll watch an episode of Shark Tank and they'll think that's how business is done. And they'll appreciate these people, but they won't appreciate a guy who, maybe I'm not going to wear the pants, but what do the pants really mean? What's it mean? Go deeper than that. Really try to understand how that's working, rather than just see it for what, its face value. And then they get upset and they say, this is stupid. Well, I mean, you're not one to really sit here and brag, but I mean, you own probably the largest or one of the largest home inspection firms in the country. You would think somebody would see some value, or really try to take a step back and try to understand more of what that means. And, it's just naive, it's ignorant, it's irresponsible, and it's a sign of somebody who doesn't know how to run a business if you're going to attack people for what they do and how they do it. Because, I mean, if you're doing over 7,000 inspections a year, I don't think you can really care about the opinions of some of these other sheeps. And,
well, man, and I hope I don't come across ugly or anything. It's just sometimes, the little snipey, he does all those gimmicks and all that. But, and technical skill is important. I mean, dude, I did inspections as a one-man shop for almost 20 years. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. But it's all important. It's all important. The technical part is important, absolutely. But, you do need to learn a little bit of marketing. You do need to learn a little bit of this. And I know there's a certain thing that, I do a good job, everybody. Well, it will. But, the other thing is agents are very there's a high turnover rate in this, so whoever you're doing inspections for today, 5 years from now, probably only 50% of them will still be in business.
Right.
So, how are you going to replace that 50%? So you've got to have something. And to me, all marketing does is get you the first inspection. And then you've got to have the technical skills, the people skills, the quality, the customer service to get the second, third, and 58th. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper to retain a client than it is to get a new one as far as cost. But you do have to have a strategy to acquire new ones. But, we don't make enough per transaction to not get repeat business. This is not going to happen. So you have to have good technical skills.
Right. Yeah, that's why, like SEOs and these Google AdWords and stuff, they'll kind of get you in the room. But if you don't have the character developed to stay in the room, they're going to bounce you out really quick. You're going to get the clients, or you're going to see these agents maybe once or twice. So it's tough, man. It's a tough business because, first of all, you get a lot of your referrals. Most people do. 70% of inspectors or 70% of inspections come by referral of real estate agents. I mean, you really are kind of sort of dependent on somebody else to believe in you, to pass that on to their clients. And you have to know the technical stuff, or else you won't survive that way either. Because if you keep missing stuff, the agents won't use you either, because the clients are going to complain to them. If you're too much of a Grinch, they're not going to want you around. So Yeah, you really think about it, a lot really goes into being a home inspector, and a lot of people think it's like, oh, you just look at a roof or a furnace and you say if it's good or bad or not, and you walk out the door with, $500-600. And I'm like, well, not really. You don't understand what truly goes into this, and you're building all of these relationships. Um, it it is, and it's a very vulnerable part. It's kind of like insurance. I never got in an accident. Am I going to get my money back? Or something you really don't want to pay for, but you're mandated to pay for it, or taxes. Right?
Right.
So that's how a lot of people look at a home inspector in the real estate community, and it's tough, man. It really is. So, and if you find something that you nail with marketing, ride it, dude, because that's what's going to work for you. And it may not work for other people, and that's fine. We're all different.
You got to be yourself. You can't. Yeah. I can't out Matt Smith, but I can out Preston Matt Smith. Right. And you can out Matt Smith Preston. That's what I always say. Don't try to, there was a great book, Malcolm Gladwell, I think, David and Goliath. And he talked about the true story about that. Everybody, obviously everybody knows the story, and he was out. And yes, if David would have tried to take on Goliath with a sword and a shield the way Goliath fought, he'd have got his ass kicked. Yeah. But there was kind of like a rock, paper, scissors in that world. Just like this beats that, this beats that, this beats that. But that guy didn't stand a chance against a slingshot that basically back then it wasn't a slingshot, it was a sling. He said it was the equivalent of a 45 caliber shot between the heads. So honestly, Goliath didn't stand a chance against David. But the whole point of that is, and there were cavalry and there were other things, is you don't fight somebody on their strength. You fight them on yours. Right. And again, David was the boy who came to feed his brother or feed the troops or whatever. He was like this young kid. Nobody else wanted to take on Goliath, but everybody was thinking we got to take on Goliath at Goliath's strengths. And he did. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. You have to put yourself in an arena where you can succeed and you can be at your best. And that's what I do every single day. I know on the phone with clients, if I can't meet their expectations, I don't even try. I don't, because there's no point. Why would I do that? I'm just going to let a lot of people down. You're forcing it. I feel like a lot of people are forcing a lot of things in general in the world, and I just don't do it.
It doesn't feel comfortable, and you can feel it. You can see it.
I like a good flow. I like feel good vibes. I'm really into that kind of stuff. I put everything where I can be my best. Where am I going to be best? So I don't go places. I don't do things where I'm not going to be at my peak self, because then I ruin it for other people. I ruin it for myself. I'm just wishing I was somewhere else or wishing I didn't do something. Yes, you have to play on your own terms. You can't go at something head on. You can't always fight fire with fire either. Sometimes you just, a lot of times I just concede and I just walk away and I let somebody else have it. Or, if I'm going to fight a fight, I pick my battles wisely, and I pick them in my own arena and, very calculated. So yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Yeah, well, and I'll give you an idea. When I first got in this business, like a million years ago, we were using Polaroid, and I didn't go straight to multi-inspector, man. I was a single man for a long time, but too long. But and nothing's wrong with being a single man. There's days when I think, I should go back to that. Life was so much simpler. But I looked at guys like Gordon Fox or Wally Conway down in Jacksonville, and these guys were like really good at marketing and stuff like that. And I can't be like Wally, can't be like Gordon. If you ever, and I know you do some interviews, definitely interview those guys and many others. I don't mean to skip anybody else, but and I was like, Wally does his thing and he's good. Wally was on HGTV. He's written books and he's a very animated, very well-spoken. If you ever read Happy Home Inspector, it's a great read. Everybody should read The Happy Home Inspector. It's a great read. He has a radio show. And Gordon, I don't ever met Gordon. Gordon is just, I don't know how to explain it. The fox. But the guy's great. But I couldn't be them, but I understand. You can't be somebody else, but you can amplify yourself, I guess is right. What I'm saying. And I'm not saying, people shouldn't wear, everybody has something. Like, I met somebody one time that did welding, and they did all this art and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, you should make that part of your home inspection business. I mean, you should be posting stuff like that. And what do you think about? I mean, people love that stuff, and amplify yourself. And this guy who talked to me one time, he does measuring. He's a measurement guy. And he said, well, you have any ideas? What? And I was like, man. I said, are you opposed to wearing suspenders? I said, they got those suspenders that look like tape measures.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, dude, if I were you, I would wear that 24/7. When you go out to eat, I mean, I know you're going to feel like Urkel, but he did it, man. And it helped him. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the guru, but just amplify yourself.
Well, I think
nobody else, but amplify yourself.
Well, it's the self. It's yourself. So I'm in competition with nobody. I don't believe in it. I'm in competition with myself. So I always perfect myself before I try to perfect anybody else. Because you don't know what their game is. You really don't know what their strengths and weaknesses really may be, but you know what your own are. So I always look within, and I build outwards. And the moment I started doing that in my life, I became so much happier. I mean, think about it. If even just like, say you or I, to try to pick up a new habit, say maybe stretching for 15 minutes in the morning, to try and get into a new habit and make a change in your own life, it's difficult. Now try to change somebody else and try to change their habit and what they do. It's damn near impossible. So why would you even do it? And I feel like that's why a lot of people are very upset and miserable all the time, because they're trying to change everybody else's minds and their way of thinking, instead of just understanding the perspective. Because I don't think all people are bad. I don't think everybody's out to really hurt anybody. I just think they have a different perspective. And sometimes there's some value to that. And if you can wrap your head around it and try to understand something, you grow as a person, and maybe you change your own mind and you become better because you were open-minded and allowed somebody else to influence and change you. So I never go after anybody else. I never try to emulate anybody else. I just always respect the game, and I give love to anybody who's really crushing it and doing well out there. But I focus on me, man. Because that's the only thing in the world that you can really truly
control.
That's it. That's all, and that's all I try to do. And once I realized that, and it hit me, I'll tell you a story. I was down in Panama City with my cousin, and he's a deep guy, and I love him to death. And we're sitting on the beach and hanging out, and he draws a circle around the chair, and he's like, you know what, man? He's very Southern. He's from Nashville. He's like, the only thing that you can change, is what's in this circle right now. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, this is all that I can change, and nothing else mattered outside of that circle. So it was very enlightening. And from that moment on, everything it got so much easier, because I would just see nothing I can do about that. So I would let it go. And I just started cutting things out of my life and letting them go. And I didn't care, because I said, it just doesn't matter. It's not worth my happiness. And I became so much happier. And then in turn, I started attracting other happy people. I started liking my job more. I started working with people that I enjoyed working with. I didn't feel like I had to, I didn't have to do these things. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And I would just change myself, and I would make myself better. And it's very empowering. It's awesome, man. When you can empower yourself to do that, you feel almost invisible. So
dude, you're preaching to the choir here. I love what you're saying. Have you ever, I can't hold this in anymore. Stoicism. Have you ever studied Stoicism? It's very much like Stoicism. Look it up sometime, and all the listeners. It's Stoic philosophy, and it's very much based on the exact thing you're saying. It's like everything that happens or everything you think about, you ask yourself, is this something I can control or something I can't? If I can't control this, I can't waste any time worrying about it. I mean, I can't control it. I can't, and that's where so much unhappiness comes from. We're trying to control things we can't control, or we're letting things we can't control bother us. We only if it's something we can control, then we can do something or think about it or worry about it. But if we can't control it, you just got to let it go. I mean, and every time something happens and you're upset about it, ask yourself, is this something I can control or something I can't? Well, if it's something I can't, I got to stop worrying about it. And there's a really, and I don't mean to get all, I know people are like, damn, Preston been smoking pot this morning or something. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. I mean, we're going back to like Roman. Roman. But anyway, there's a really good book by Ryan Holiday, Stoic, Daily Stoic or something like that. And I always get books on Audible. But dude, it is an awesome. I love, and it's very much all practical stuff like that. And you'll be so much happier because, again, I mean, it's just like exactly what you said. Everything in this circle I can change, I can control. Everything outside of this circle I can't. And if I spend time trying to worry about stuff outside this circle or letting it bother me, I'm only damaging the stuff in the circle that I could control.
Right.
You can't control what people do, but you can control your reaction to it. You know what I mean? And if you're automatically reacting to everything, you're letting outside stuff control you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we live in a very reactionary world. Everybody's reacting to, what Trump says or what this says. I'm like, man, like it really gets you that upset, And I'm a person, I believe in making, actions for my excuses instead of excuses for my actions. And I don't believe in reactionary, I believe in being proactive, having foresight. A lot of people are very myopic. They only see, a couple of days ahead or a couple hours ahead, or, kind of really just what's in front of them. But, looking deeper and, divulging into something more, and usually it's yourself, it's really going to provide you with the best form of yourself. And when you have that, like that's the ultimate superpower, man. Like if you can do that, you're invisible. Like nobody's gonna mess you up. Like you're gonna attract all the right people. People are gonna want to be around you.
Right.
You're
even when people are talking junk about you, even though, and I'm a hypocrite because I obviously got upset when earlier when people say, "Yeah, he's marketing, he's not doing." But yeah, like you said, I mean, you got to ask yourself, I can't control what those people say about me, and if it, I mean, I hope I don't come across arrogant, but if your competition's saying that about you, well, it's probably because they sense you as some sort of threat. Because if you weren't doing anything or people don't talk about, the guy who's down and out in a bad way. They talk about the people they talk about in a bad way, or and myself included, are people we're jealous of or we feel is some sort of threat. So, I mean, I hope I don't come across as arrogant, but if you're on your competition's radar, you're doing something right.
That's right where I want everybody. That's right where I want my competition, is worrying about me instead of about themselves, because they're never going to control me. They're never going to fix me. And if they're not worrying about themselves and what they can do better, it's a day lost. That's a moment lost, or they could have either learned something and become better, or they could have went and read a book and become better. And they're cruising my Facebook page.
They're trying. They're spending time on stuff outside their circle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, I want to get along with my competition. They got families. I get it. I don't hate my competitors. I mean, they got families to feed, and really, my competitor and I are probably a lot more. We're all similar. I mean, I don't wish any bad, or but. If my competitor's doing something good, great. I got to step up my game now. Instead of me like talking junk or, poking holes in it, or, hey, man, he's doing a good job. I mean, if I talk junk about it, that's just sour grapes or jealousy, and that's outside my circle. What's inside my circle is, all right, how can I improve my game?
Well, people will judge you based on, your opinions of other people. And if you're negative and you talk bad about other people, it's only going to be a reflection of who you really are. So, I try to speak of everybody's greatness and, how good they are and what they do. That is good. Because, again, as being a business owner, somebody may call me and they may want somebody that does, a 4-hour inspection, Well, now I know somebody who does that, or I know somebody that can provide value to them, or somebody who, say they do sewer scope inspections, or they do an inspection that not a lot of people do in the area. Well, now you know somebody that does. You can learn from that. You can build off of that and do that. I really don't believe in cutting anybody down. It's just making you look way worse, and it's always the saying, blowing out somebody else's candle won't make yours shine any brighter.
Right.
It's just it's irresponsible, and it's a reflection of you. And people people are going to kind of, because you never know who you're talking to. You know, you go to a meeting and you talk bad about competition. You're like, well, we really like Preston. Why would you say that? He's done really good things for me. You know, and I'm sure, you know, people have reached out, needed things from you in a time of need, and you said, yeah, you know, we'll help you out, or yes, we'll sponsor this, or we'll do that. And people value that. So if someone comes in and they're talking bad, they're just going to self-destruct themselves, and it'll sort itself out, and they won't even be around. I don't really have time for people like that. You know,
Yeah.
that's not really what I'm interested, or that isn't my game. I'm not going to get into a battle.
Yeah, there's that quote. What is it? Don't wrestle with a pig in mud. It only gets you dirty, and the pig likes it, or something. I may have muffed it up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's true. I just stick to yourself, man. You know, do what you can do. You know, because we could all be better. You know, perfect yourself before you try to perfect somebody else. That's all. That's all you can control. It's all you can do.
Absolutely. Well, let's get back to the technical part. I love that discussion, but I'm sure some home inspectors could be like, "Hey, man, I want to talk about home inspections." But that is good stuff. I'm going to combine these two questions. Does your state have licensing, and how do you do? You know, I know some guys that are single operator, and I struggle with this a little bit. Scheduling. Do you answer your own phones? Do you have a service? How do you do that?
Yeah, we do have licensing in New York State. I answer my own phone. Uh, it's you know, honestly, I never really have a hard time with my phone or my scheduling. I'm very persuasive, so I'm, you know, able to really get what I want. I come highly recommended from my referral sources, so most people don't even call anybody else, but I usually always get back. Because I'm very reliable and on top of things. So I don't have a call center because, like we were talking about earlier, I really feel like I try to customize an inspection for somebody or make them feel that way. So when I'm talking to them on the phone, I'm very good at making people feel comfortable and trusting me. So I that is something I enjoy doing with the business. I enjoy that initial phone call because I know when people call me, what's going through their head and where they're at in the process. So I like kind of calming them down and talking to them and explaining everything to them because everybody always has different questions. That's actually my favorite part of the entire process is now they're excited. I've already set it up. I've already planted the seed for a great experience. So I love doing it. So I'm on my phone quite a bit. A lot of my referral sources, you know, they're very tolerant if I'm on an inspection or I don't get back.
That's what I was going to ask. What if you're in the middle of an inspection? You just you call them back? Is that?
Yeah, I call them back. You know, because somebody's paying me, you know, $500-600 for.
Yeah, they deserve your attention. Yeah.
Yeah, I would never do that. So I do some things that expedite my inspections. You know, I have an assistant and he drives, so I could just be on my phone, emails and texting and calling back and doing so. You know, do have a lot of windshield time, and I felt like that was wasted time. So instead of pulling over or trying to figure things out in a parking lot somewhere for 20 minutes, you know, I'm making great use of that time. So I always usually get back to somebody within about an hour or hour and a half. So
I'm curious. That's awesome. And you don't have to say specific, but now this assistant, because I thought I like that idea. Did they help you on the inspections as well, doing, you know, checking outlets and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I found a loophole around the multi-inspector thing and is having an assistant.
Yeah, because it makes you more productive and more.
Oh my God. There was so much wasted time driving. And I actually type my reports while we're driving. I'm very, very efficient. You know, I take blocks of time and I just do everything I need to do in that time and then some. Yeah, he'll check outlets and windows for me. They get the agreement signed. They do the recall checks. Without that, so they take the pictures of everything and submit it. They take the water labs. They'll set up a radon. They'll carry the ladder around. You know, set it up into the attic hatch, pull the electrical panel cover off. So
sure.
And then they clean up behind me too, which is great. You know, they're turning thermostats on and off upstairs, and it just very, very helpful.
That's awesome. What, if you don't mind me asking too, what type of reporting software, and does it sync? I mean, are like both of you working on the report at the same time, or?
Well, they're not. No, I won't let that. I don't want them assuming really too much liability. So I try to give them very easy things, like an outlet tester is an outlet tester. You know, a window is a window. You know, you check for the locks and et cetera. And I still check. I go behind and kind of look at a lot of things as well, you know, one of them being the windows, you know, because there is framing construction that you need to know with the window. But as far as operating and opening and closing and fighting with blinds and shit, like I just don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
They get it all ready for me.
Yeah,
But I do the report, because that's where the gold is at, is the report. That's what everybody really needs. So, no, I work on that, and they just deal with everything else and drive. I mean, driving's the biggest.
Yeah, oh yeah, because there's so much time there. There's so much time.
Yeah.
Do you pay that? And I'm not going to ask specific because
no, it's fine.
I never asked somebody a question that I would be a little uncomfortable or a little too private. I'd sort of say 10,000 feet on some things. Do you pay them like hourly or like a salary or a wage, or not specifically how much, but how do you pay them?
Well, it's a per diem.
Okay.
So I only work like maybe 3-4 days a week, 3.5 days a week. So I pay them for those days, and I pay them per inspection or per stop, I should say. So I usually give them $30, a stop, and it's worked out well. They're very grateful. They're happy. I give them cash, and then I just 1099 them. So I just really avoid all that stuff with owning a business or having a multi-inspector firm, and I kind of get all the same benefits of it. I have more time to myself. I facilitate the inspection and get things done quicker, which the agents really appreciate. And even the clients do. Don't kid yourself. The clients are busy too. A lot of people, they don't want to be there for 4 hours, so yeah, it really helps facilitate, move things right along.
Cool. Yeah, the only reason I ask is, I've thought about the idea, my everybody pays different way. A lot of people pay a percentage and things. Some people pay a salary. There's pros and cons to everything. The thing I think you're going to struggle with, no matter how you pay anybody, whether it's an inspector, an assistant, whatever, is, some days are going to be easy and some days are going to be hard. Some houses are easy and some houses are POS.
Yeah.
And hopefully, a lot of inspectors realize that and they average it out, but sometimes it's like, well, I should get paid more for this one, right? And my response to that is, well, should you give me money back on that other one that was so easy? Right. I mean, it all averages out. And, nobody, if you have multiple inspectors too, nobody is, ideally everybody would have, 2 inspections a day close to their house. But, that this person was requested and they got to drive across town. And this, and inevitably you get, and it happened to me too. It's like, man, I got 5 or 6 or 7 POSs in a row. Are you sticking it to me on purpose? No, yeah. I'm not that organized. I couldn't do that to you if I wanted to, but it just happens. But I guess going in, that's when I ask, like, how do you pay them? If you pay them so much per diem or whatever, just realize, some are going to be worse and some are going to be easy. And it just averages out. Some days you're not going to make enough money, but some days you're going to be making more than enough, and it just averages out. That's just –
yeah, well, that's just it. I don't really focus on the money, and I know you can't tell somebody who's working for you that, because it does matter more. I don't. I really – I don't know. I feel like I would probably do this for free if I absolutely, I love just being around the people and helping the people, and I understand the impact that I make and how happy that I make people, and I just focus on that. And then the money comes. You'll make your money, you'll get your money. But yeah, there are times where I go into a house, it's 95 degrees and we don't have air conditioning.
Yeah. Well, and I always think about whenever somebody's like, I always think about the bad jobs I've had. I pulled tobacco as a kid, and I'll tell you right now, everything I've ever done in my life is easy compared to that.
Oh yeah.
And I was a school teacher, and not that school teacher is hard, and I love the job, but I make $22,000 a year. Ridiculously not enough money for what, so I always, whenever you have a bad day, think about, well, you could be doing this or you could be doing that. And, my day's not that bad after all, really.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It makes me laugh a little bit. A lot of people are so concerned with the money, but, they got an Apple Watch, they got all these expensive ththings, expensive cars. And
yeah, you do realize more than half the world is like, or I don't know if half the world, there's a big portion of the world that doesn't have running water or, an indoor plumbing. And, we're sitting there complaining with a $30,000 or $50,000 truck and Apple Watch and, Is life really that bad?
Right. Yeah, and you want to nab someone for 25 extra bucks out of the inspection because it didn't meet your standards. And I think it's a big problem, Preston, because people they make it about themselves, and I never make it about me, man. I always make it about the client and the experience, and that's why I've been so successful, because you can't always be there when times are great. You have to be there when times aren't so great, and that's what a real leader does, and that's where you're going to build your value and your reputation is how you act when those things happen. Because when things are fine and things are great, anybody can act wonderful and everybody's happy and feel good vibes. But when there's a real problem or something may not go your way, how do you react? Or are you? That's really a testament of your character and who you are. And I never want to tarnish that reputation of what I have. So I never complain, man. I will never ever complain. Very grateful to even be there, because I know there's someone sitting home on their couch probably looking at some other home inspector's Facebook page and wishing that they were in this house with no air conditioning, or
Right.
on the basement or something,
Or having to drive a little bit further than normal.
Yeah.
I get that complaint. That's so far up. But I remember times when I didn't have an inspection for 4 or 5 days. I'd be happy to drive a little bit further.
Right. I just try to be grateful. Always, always, always be grateful, because it'll reflect in your tonality. It'll reflect in your spirit and in your personality. And the agents and the clients pick up on it, and they're like, you really don't even want to be here. And it doesn't. It really makes some things go sour, and you'll start rubbing people the wrong way. So you really need to fill your bowl with gratitude all the time,
right?
Because it can be taken away at any moment,
right?
And they will, and they'll give it to somebody else who is providing a better experience. So I'm never too good for anything, man. I just want to help people out and do the right thing, and educate. And I complain when I get in the car with my assistant Dylan, and we talk about what a piece of crap the house was, or how hot it was, or foreclosure in the middle of January with no heat, how terrible that is. But ultimately we are grateful, because we made really good money, we made an impact, and I helped solidify that referral source for future inspections. When you do get something that's very easy to do, a ranch house on a slab with electric baseboard heat, and you get those gifts too. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got 1 or 2 more questions up against a break here, and we'll take a break. Let's say I'm a real estate agent or a buyer in your market, Matt. Why should I hire you? Tell me why. Why should I hire you over the other guys?
Well, it depends on what their wants and needs are, and that's what I sift out, almost immediately. Some people want, maybe an infrared, or they may want, and I could get access to those things. I guess I could only attest to why people may want to call me, and it's providing that experience, and it's the understanding. It's that female brain. It's not all about trying to itemize up, a bill of sale for these people. It's about trying to help them and provide value at the same time, in their inspections. So, I feel like hiring me, you're going to get somebody you're going to get more of a personal connection to. I don't really look at it as a job. I understand what the expectations are, and I just try to absolutely destroy the expectations and supersede them in any way possible.
Over deliver.
Yeah, over-deliver, and people really like that. I show up ready to play, and ready to give you what you need, and I think people really they really love that. I get a lot of clients are very, very happy, a lot of agents very, very happy, and that's really what I strive to do, is make people happy and provide, by providing a service, not make people happy by overlooking things or forgetting things. Very reliable. I'm extremely reliable. I'm extremely efficient. I don't waste people's time. I don't mind conceding or taking a step back and letting somebody else come in on a roll, and admitting when I'm wrong, and again, providing customer service. There have been times I've gone on inspections, and I if I don't know what I'm doing, I've done inspections with docks, for instance. I don't know anything about inspecting a dock. Well, I bring somebody who builds docks, and people really appreciate that. And depending on the cost, if something is very esoteric in the home, I don't even charge them for it, because I look at it as a learning lesson, really.
Right.
I think people they love that. They really, really like it, and they don't feel like they're getting ripped off. and I'm still making my money. Don't kid yourself. I do very well, but I just think it's the level of customer service that I give. I don't think anybody can really give the way I do and understand things the way I do. And I'm an extremely hard worker. I grew up, not very affluent. I'm short, and I wasn't very attractive growing up, so I had to
Yeah, it does. Figure out I had to develop a personality.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to get by on personality and hard work. And I'll tell you, man, they're very.
Sometimes I think disadvantage is an advantage because.
Yeah.
And I used to think that. And I don't. And again, I don't mean to hijack your thing or anything. I got a lot of friends that, and I love them and all, but in my circle of friends and my wife, I'm married up. I'm the first one to tell you. I'm married up. My wife comes from a pretty good background. She's the nicest, best person I've ever known.
Yeah.
But in her circle, everybody went to college. I went to college, but everybody's parents paid for it. Several of them went to private school. Dude, I'm like the mutt of the group, and I used to be intimidated early on. Like, all these kids went to private school and blah, blah, blah. But later, man, it's an advantage, I think, because I'll get my hands dirty in a minute. A lot of these kids, man, they come out and, they're not going to load trucks and they're not going to pull it back. Dude, I'll do whatever it takes. If I lost my job tomorrow, I'd be delivering pizzas. I'd be, doing 4 or 5 jobs to feed my family, whatever. I'm not too proud, and when you grow up, I don't know. I think you have no sense of entitlement when you're poor, and like you said, you develop other skills that they might not have had to develop because they didn't need to. If that makes sense. Nothing against them.
Yeah. Well, it's that. It's so ingrained in me to do that I never forget it, and it's one of the hardest things I've had with owning the business and getting to the level where I'm at is being able to say no or to scale back a little bit because it's so ingrained in me to just work really hard. And I'll tell you, man, there are very few things in this world that are guaranteed, but I guarantee it's going to be really hard to outwork me. I mean, I will do whatever it takes, and I won't stop until I get it done. I've done it. Like you said, I would deliver pizzas. I'd do whatever I could do. I would live in my car if I had to. I don't care. I would do whatever I need to do because I'm so confident with myself that I know I will get to where I need to be, and that situation will only be temporary. So yeah, I will. I would double and triple down on the fact that I'm gonna outwork the hell out of you. I'm gonna outlast you. You cannot keep up. My long game is pretty strong, and a lot of people I don't think they have what it takes. The mental fortitude or the giving up. I've worked with some people, working in my rental properties, and they kind of stop every couple hours, have something to eat or something to drink, and I'm thinking to myself that shit doesn't even matter to me. I like the task to be done, and you just I drive right towards it. The ambition is so strong. And yeah, I never forgot that, and I never will. And it's having that gratitude and realizing this could all be taken away from you because I've lived in a position where I didn't have all of these things, and I feel like somebody who's a little more privileged, they don't understand what it's like to go without some of these, and then when you have to learn it as an adult, it's very difficult, very hard for them. So I'm very grateful for my background and everything that I had, and figuring out ways.
Well, and then, and then sometimes I get that, I guess they call it the imposter syndrome or something. Because, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I've done fairly well. And, every once in a while, I don't know if self-doubt or whatever, but I also think it leads to gratitude. I wake up, I'm like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve, I'm waking up thinking my wife's going to wake up one morning and say, what the hell, what was I thinking? They call it imposter syndrome or something. Yeah. But you know what? You can look at that as like negative thinking, but I also look at it as a time to be grateful because you realize that you could lose it. And, and part of Stoic philosophy, dude, I know you're thinking, oh God, Preston is way out there. No, it's envisioning the worst that could happen, and then realizing it's being grateful. And part of being grateful is, have you ever, like, I'm going to give you two scenarios. You ever seen somebody who beat cancer, who the worst thing almost or whatever that could happen to you in life, and they beat it and it goes into remission. They go through the whole thing. Man, they are the most full of life people, grateful, you know, the mentality, or even, even yourself. Have you ever, like, a really close one died or you almost got in an, and all of a sudden you like want to prioritize things in your life, like, oh my God, that could happen to me, All right, now put that on hold for a second. Now compare that to somebody who wins the lottery, and all of a sudden they come into $100 million, whatever, and then you see that person 2 or 3 years later, and they're like the most miserable person, not always, but for the most part, because they've lost all their friends and blown through the money. So I guess what I'm saying is somebody took something that possibly was the worst thing that could happen to you and came out like the best person because of it, when somebody almost like the best thing that could happen to you, and they came out the worst. And I'm not saying always, but it kind of does seem that way, doesn't it? General. So I guess from Stoic, one of their things is every day for about 5 or 10 minutes, vision the worst thing that could happen. Like your spouse dies, your house burns down, you lose your business, something happens to one of your children. I mean, I know that sounds morbid and horrible, but you visualize it for about 5 minutes, and then you stop and say, that didn't happen. But you're grateful all day long because we take things for granted. And I think it keeps you from, it's like, no matter what happens to me in business on, day, I got a bad claim or whatever, but I'm like, you know what? My wife and kids are happy. I mean, and healthy. I mean, not happy. Well, they are happy, but healthy. They're not, dude, it's a good day. It's a good day every day they're healthy. No matter what else happens, I mean, I don't know. I went off on a big tangent.
So. No. I understand what you're saying. And I feel like struggle is the most important thing anybody can have in their life, because that's what's really going to define you and build character. And unfortunately, I think it makes a lot of people worse off, but you can overcome that. You really get to find out what you're made of, and it builds up your confidence. You have a different appreciation. You have more gratitude. I always compare it to buying plants. If you go to a nursery and you buy these plants that are grown in a perfect temperature in a greenhouse and it looks beautiful, and you bring it home and you plant it in your garden and it dies. Or you go to Home Depot and you buy a plant that's been banged around on a flatbed truck and moved around 35 times, and it'll survive anywhere. And I think it's the same thing with people. If you can take some of the best, banging around through life and the slaps in the faces and being knocked down and being picked back up, you can recover from anything. But and like I said earlier, when you're in a perfect position, in a perfect scenario, in a perfect environment, you should do well. But what are you going to do when it's not so perfect? And I think this is the biggest difference between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Is Peyton Manning always
you're getting some people mad now.
Yeah, Peyton, man, he always, man, when he had the perfect environment, he rip it up. He played in the dome. Tom Brady, outside, always, it's he have to rise above. He was second string at Michigan.
Oh yeah, they thought when Drew Brees got not Drew? I'm sorry. Who was ahead of him?
I don't remember. Exactly.
He was an all-star, not Drew. God, don't go on it. But he was like the stud, and they thought when that guy went down, who's this sixth-string guy out of Michigan that didn't even start at Michigan?
Right.
Who is he?
And then
for the record, I hate the Patriots, but I respect them. I'm a Panthers fan.
All right.
But I respect. I mean, dude. I mean, they built a world class. I mean, 6 Super Bowls or 8. I don't know. I mean, 1 5.
It's what we talked about earlier. Everybody's hating, and I mean, if you really look at their philosophy and what they do, it's pretty impressive. And I understand on a deeper level what they're doing and how they do it. But the point is, somebody has to struggle and overcome. They'll never forget it. I mean, the dude's 40 years old and he's the top of the game still.
I know, man. I got no excuses. I think about it, I'm like,
yeah, but that's what keeps you going. I mean, he'll always have that ingrained to him. No matter how well he does, it's just never good enough, because he knows there's someone
Oh,
else
yeah.
behind them ready to take, your job or take something over. So,
Well, and I think some people, and again, obviously because I'm a Panthers fan, it just sounds
yeah,
great. Some people say he's cocky, but I think he's just so focused on what he's doing that he just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like that. They're just. That doesn't mean that they're. I know. There's probably some anti-Patriots fan. I don't like the Patriots, but I certainly respect them. Hell, I didn't like the Cowboys when I was a kid, and the Cowboys were really good back in the '70s. But you got to respect it. And I think he's just so focused on what he's doing. It's like, either you're with us and you're going to help us, or you need to get out of my way.
Right. That's the value with looking at somebody like him and understanding really what's going on another level. It's, looking at someone and hating on them. Well, I mean, the fact is, the guy is, he's crushing it in the NFL. He's got a supermodel wife. I mean, if somebody,
how do you get all those things? I mean, it's
I mean, if anybody,
most of us would be happy to have one of the three.
Right.
Let's see, be good at sports, be good looking, and have a model wife. Most guys, we'd all be happy with one of those three. How do you get all three?
Right, and it's all, a lot of it's attitude. You gotta have the right attitude. I think struggle is important for anybody. If you talk to any business owner or anybody who's really made it, even if you talk to Mark Cuban, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts with Mark Cuban, what he always refers to is how he went to bars where they had free snack food and they would buy cheap beer. Always talks about that. That was his time of struggle when he was building his business.
Oh, yeah.
They relish in it. People
Everybody
relish in it.
struggle, man. I just listened to that book, Shoe Dog, Phil Knight, who started Nike.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I mean, you think about the mega brand that there is today, dude, that was a struggling, almost went bankrupt, got sued. I mean, it's a wonder Nike's even around today. I mean, it was such a fledgling, humbling. He ran at Oregon, and he wasn't even that good. I mean, he was just on the team. But he got, his coach was always into trying to redesign the shoe. Anyway, and at the time, the only shoes were like Adidas from Europe. And so he went to Japan, and he actually started out with Tiger, which later became Asics. Asics, I guess I'm saying that. But anyway, that company screwed him over, and they signed a deal with him, and they did him bad, and then they sued him, even though I guess what I'm saying is everybody struggles, just like you said. And even though it looks like Tom Brady has it all, I guarantee you that dude's got problems too. And like you said, everybody does. At Michigan, he barely got drafted. He was picked 199th. I mean, how many people pick 199th wind up becoming – most people don't even make the team.
Yeah. So, but struggle is everything, man. You need it. I welcome it. I love problems. I love struggle because I know I'm going to be better outside of that. I know I lose in the moment, but I'll overcome it and I'll be better because of it. So I welcome it because I know what's coming out on the back end of the struggle. When things are easy, I get bored. I don't like it. If I do, 4 or 5 inspections that are all easy, I don't like it because I haven't learned anything. It's boring. Right. I like the struggle. I want to complain a little bit. I want to have to try to figure something out to be better or to do something better, or provide something
challenges you.
I love that shit. That's like, I crave that. I eat that up. I don't like the easy. I don't like a layup all the time. Sometimes.
Did you ever listen to Gary Vee? You sound like Gary Vee. You sound a lot like Gary Vee. Well, last question here before the break, Matt. You know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. Somebody's going to say you missed something or something. And if you don't have that, you haven't done enough inspections yet.
Right.
Because I don't care how good of an inspector you are, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
How do you handle it? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
It doesn't happen often. I will say, a lot of times I just try to figure out if it's actually something that should have been caught during the inspection. And, I come at it from their perspective and try to understand it. So the first thing I do is I go over to the house. Well, not so much anymore because a lot of times I've gone over that and it's gotten pretty confrontational. So, depending on the situation, I will go to the property, I will look at it, show the people that I care. And, try to figure out, like, is this something I should have caught during the inspection? The most recent one I had back in March, a woman went on vacation. house flooded because the shutoff valve for the hose was in her bathroom, and they were doing some plumbing work, and it started to leak. And she said, you never tested the hose. And I said, well, it was January. I said, I can't just start turning water on to the outside of the home. And she didn't really kind of understand that expectation. And we were kind of at an impasse. And I always tell everybody, I said, listen, this isn't anything personal for me. If you want to pursue this, we'll have to go to small claims court, and we'll let a judge decide or figure it out. But there have been instances, one, I had a client, he said, I really need to check the jacuzzi tub. I just don't feel really confident, about the jacuzzi tub. And, we ended up having such a good time at the inspection. I never did. I never checked it. And he moved in and it started to leak. He called me and he said, Matt, I did ask you to check it. I said, you know what, you did. And he was like, I really wouldn't care. He's like, but I don't want to repair the drywall. And I said, I'll just give you your money back. I said, just take it, use it towards the drywall. I gave it everything back for his well inspection, his radon inspection, just gave it all back. I said, yeah, man, that was my blubber. And that's usually what I do, is I'll just give them their money back. But it doesn't happen very, very often. A lot of times people call me for things that I say, I don't want to say not responsible, but typically not an item that's covered under the home inspection. One person complained about their chimney flue, and I'm like, well, you had a fire going during the inspection, and we don't inspect flue liners. So there's nothing you can really do with that. But, I have had this one story. I had this woman, and it was when I first started. I missed quite a few things, and I luckily just got away with giving her money back. And I ended up doing all three of her son's inspections.
Oh, wow. So you turned it around.
Yeah, so I turned it around. So, it was like, kind of worked out. Had I fought her on it, tried to retain, the $450, I would have only got $450, but, instead, I got a couple thousand out of it for inspecting her kid's house. So I always try to do the right thing. And I always remove money from anything. And now you're stuck doing the right thing. So I don't even include the money. I have insurance, that's what I have to do. Do a lot of inspections. So, the money isn't always going to be a factor for me. So now I'm stuck with doing what's right. And if I was that person, and if it is even something that should have been covered during the inspection. So I always just try to make it right, and still maintain that level of making them happy. I'm not going to give you something if it's, not fair, but if it's fair game, man, I'll give you your money back. I'll turn it into my insurance. We'll do whatever we got to do to make you happy. I have some contractor friends that have helped me out as well, but sometimes I will tell you this, people, they get very greedy. I've had some people call me back on some situations, and I say, I didn't do as good as a job as you needed me to do. And then he was like, oh yeah, we want you to clean our gutters too, because the gutters are dirty. And I said, you know what, man, I said, I was going to give this guy a whole new deck. And it was a big deck. I was going to pay for it. And I said,
and clean the gutters. That's crazy.
Yeah, and clean the gutters.
Well, and sometimes they'll want you miss something in the bathroom, or and you may legitimately miss a leak or something, but it turns out they want you to pay for a remodel.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah.
Sometimes they were planning on remodeling anyway, but
right.
I'm like, look, in insurance or anything else, you only get back to where you would have been. You don't get to be improved. I mean, that's just not. No insurance company is going to pay you to remodel your kitchen. They will replace the floor that you have.
Yeah,
you don't get new cabinets. You don't get new countertops.
No, and I've had people do that. Like this woman with the leak, went away on vacation. She wanted the insurance did pay for it, and she wanted me to pay for her deductible, and she wanted me to give her money back for the inspection.
And the deductible and the insurance?
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Oh my God.
I was like, I said, I don't really agree with this. I said, if you want to take me to small claims court, I said that we can do that route. I said, because there's just.
I don't think they can take it. If the insurance pays for it, I don't think they can take you to.
You know what? She never did. She never did.
Like double dipping. And I will say this as far as double dipping. I've said it on other podcasts, but, somebody may be listening to this for the first time. And we all hate callbacks, and they are the minority, but, they are the thorn that, even though it's small, is causing us the most pain. always check if they're demanding something. You know, what I've run into a lot of times is they're demanding something and it was on the report, but they're trying to say, well, you didn't tell me how bad it was, or you made me feel like it wasn't that big a deal, yada, yada, yada. Always call that seller or seller's agent and find out. That there have been a couple of times when they got money off the price of the house for that exact same thing. So they got compensated for it. And now they're trying, they're double dipping, man. They're trying to, and I'm like, well, of course, and they get mad, but I'm like, look, if you try to take me to court, I mean, I could sue you back because you're trying to get money out of me for something you have already been compensated. I mean, that's fraud with a capital F. You may not feel like it's fraud, but it's fraud. You're trying to collect twice on the same thing. Yeah. Well, we got money off the price of the house. That's not the same. It is the same thing if that's what it was for, and anyway. Sorry.
No, I get it. Well, I always reflect back to the report because if they got money off of, say, a defect with the roof, it's going to be reflected in the report anyway. So I always, would refer to that and say, well, you got money off because people but the point is, I know what you're saying. They're greedy. They do try double dipping.
And it's not everybody. No, I don't want to, and it's just the ones that do, it puts such a sour taste in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. Well, they want to put the responsibility on other people. And I think a lot of people want to do that in this world instead of taking self-responsibility or realizing you're a homeowner now and it didn't go the way you wanted it to. But, it's out there everywhere in the world. People are always trying to take advantage. And I think once insurance is involved, people think they're going to get this big payout. And that's just, I don't know, man. Like, if you want more money or you want more things, then go work. Go do another job. I don't tell you, it shouldn't be up to everybody else to fix your woes. Nobody, I don't think anybody ever owes me anything. So now let's work harder. I'll do more if I want more.
That's right. All right, Matt. Well, we're up against the break here. When we get back, we're going to talk about a time when you failed and what you learned from it.
Hi, I'm Preston Sandlin, and I own Home Inspection Carolina, and I wanted to show you a way that you can get more home inspection leads. So what you can do, you obviously can do a pre-inspection, but I understand some people don't want to do that. But what it is, we set out a sign, and this sign is going to have information about the house. When you text that, you can have information about the house. You could have a home inspection discount. You could also lead them to a website. So this is my daughter, Sarah Margaret. Say hi.
Hi.
So Sarah Margaret, you pretend like you're buying this house, and I want you to text. You're riding by, doing a kiki dance, whatever, and you see, hey, I'm interested in this house. I'd like you to text info to that number, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and do that now. She's interested in the house. So for more information on this house, she's going to text that and a home inspection discount. Okay, so I just got the lead in the buyer. Now, you should get something in a second. So what'd you get? So click on the top one there, yeah. So you'll see what she gets. So she's going to get information about the house. And meanwhile, I got the lead. All right, so scroll up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. So there's like a little video about the house. Of course, your phone's really slow. There's multiple pictures of the house and whatnot. And well, there goes the video finally. I'm gonna have to edit this a little bit. But the cool thing is read what it says there. Read that out loud, Samara.
This is a demo house. It is not for sale. It is for demonstration purposes only. Information about the house would go here if this house was actually for sale. If you are interested in getting a home inspection, call 704-542-6575 with the code HIC 2018. You can receive a $23 discount on a home inspection on this house or any house you decide to buy in this area. Discount code HIC 2018. 704-542-6575.
Okay. Now, well, I talk a little bit. Text that same number, text info1. You can just use the same number, text info1 now. So what I'm going to do is show you how we did a couple of other things with it. But again, the whole thing is to drive leads Now I have the lead and I can follow up with her. She's a potential buyer. I can do a drip campaign. Let me go one. Now click on that. What you got for, no, top, there, edit this. See how there's a discount code there, home inspection discount. All right, last one, go back to that same text and text info 3. So this is something of value that's not a discount code, it's an inspection list. So I can put that sign anywhere, and again, see, I'm getting the lead, so I'll click on here to the lead, and you see I just got these leads. Is your number 704-7? Oh, I better not say that out loud because guys will be calling you. But obviously, all right. So did you do info 3? Mm-hmm. All right. Now click on that top one and make show what that shows on there. So all 3, I captured the lead. I did information about the house with a home inspection discount. I can connect it to a URL that has a home inspection discount, a URL with a something giveaway, a checklist, radon information, you name it. But we capture the lead. So everybody who texts this, we get that home inspection lead. They're gonna need a home inspection. They're also gonna need probably a realtor. So the realtor is gonna like us as well. So check out inspectedhouses.com. It's a new way to get leads for your home inspection business and leads for the realtor as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, I am back here with Matt Smith, and he's been dropping tons of knowledge and advice, and I feel like I'm out to tackle my day with a good mindset after talking to Matt today. Well, Matt, tell us about a time that you failed, and what'd you learn from it?
Well, I failed more, I would say, on a personal level, more so than an inspection level, because you can always give somebody money back or have a contractor fix something. Back in 2014, I did over 900 inspections, and it
holy cow, one guy. I mean, I know you had an assistant. Holy.
No, this was without an assistant. I was working 18, 20-hour days, and yeah, man, I was so high speed, man, the wheels came right off. And I changed who I was, and I got away from my core being, and it kind of turned a lot of people away from me. They started questioning me. I was tarnishing my own reputation. But I recovered from it. I realized it. I am very in tune with my environment around me. And the one thing I learned, man, is no matter how bad you can be sometimes, they'll forgive you. And they'll forgive you if you can't keep making the same mistake over and over again, but people are very forgiving, and most people are good, and they don't want to see you go down that road. And I was going down a pretty bad road, with being just,
you had to be living off caffeine and
just
Red Bull or something.
Yeah, everything was in excess and nothing else mattered. It was like it was like this race to just accumulate, and
I'm not enjoying your life though, man. It's
right. And I neglected a lot of things, and I had so much stuff, and it just a lot of people just kind of were like, I don't really, this isn't the guy that I met 5 years ago.
Right.
In my office, I was very grateful. I got a bit cocky, a bit arrogant, thought I was king shit, and I'm glad these people told me that. I'm glad some people who were close to me told me that, and I'm glad I went through that struggle, because now I'm even better because of it. But what I really realized, that people will forgive you, and it makes me even humble me right out, makes me even more grateful, because you realize you can make a mistake, you can recover from it, and it straightens you out quite a bit. So that's what I learned, is not really that you can make a mistake and recover from it, and but it's okay to make a mistake, and that you really need to learn from your mistakes. And it was, I don't think I'd be where I am today without it. I needed that had to happen. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd be here right now, man. I was not going down the road.
See, you've had that experience, not like cancer, but something bad had to happen to realize. I think you have to have something bad or something bad happen near you, around you, or to you, to then be grateful every day you wake up, instead of thinking, about the problems you have, think about all the problems you don't have. and how many people would trade their problems for your problems? And life's not that bad. I mean, the problems we have, aren't life and death. And that's, there's people that would gladly trade their problems for you. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, have you had I've come a long way moment? And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I'm not really good at talking about, myself in that respect, because I always look at myself as, not being, I'm not that important. I'm a home inspector. Who the hell am I? I'm not saving lives or anything. So, I don't get this God syndrome. I mean, to come a long way. I mean, I get it every day. Yesterday I had a client call me. She's fighting with the bank and needs all these, all these reports and all this stuff. And I just listened to her and I said, okay, I said, I'll get it taken care of as soon as I leave the gym. And she was just, it was like something she hasn't heard before. I mean, and she's just been, she sent me text messages and thanks me so much and thanks me up and down through the emails and stuff. And that's what I want. That's what I need. That's what I crave. And, that's more valuable to me than money. I like that fulfillment. To really come a long way. I get invited to come in and talk for real estate offices. They want me to talk at events and do things. That really makes me feel good that somebody values what I have to say and the way I feel, and to pass that along to their agents or pass it along to their clients. So, every day is, I feel like I've come a long way because I knew where I was. I never forget really where I came from. So, I don't have anything monumental that, has happened where I say, oh, I made it. I don't have an item that shows, oh, I made it. Here I am. But, I live a great life, man. I have some fantastic friends and, I love everybody and I'm happy all the time and I get what I want and I do what I want. And it's because of my attitude. And I think, that in itself is the sweetest victory that I have.
Nice. I know you don't have a crystal ball, and you've been doing inspections, and you came in during the rough time, and you survived. So I guess you've been doing inspections since 2008, about 10 years, maybe a little more. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you've seen 10 years. How do you project the next 10 years? I mean, what do you think will change? And I mean, I'm not going to hold you to it. I mean, but obviously you have some ideas.
Yeah, well, when you look at the inception of home inspectors and the stereotype of home inspectors, even 10 years ago, there weren't a lot of young home inspectors. I was 25.
There's a lot of them now. There's a lot now.
And there's a lot now. And I think a lot of these values from the younger generation are going to carry over into the future. And, I think a lot of it is money driven. It's, the Shark Tank mentality, business driven. I don't think people really stop and look at the customer service. I'm not saying everybody because I don't know everybody, but I feel like, a lot of arguments that I see on these forums on Facebook and stuff, a lot of these guys who are over 50 years old, they have a different value than somebody who's 25 and, bragging about how they're making $10,000 in a month or et cetera. And I think I don't really like seeing that. I don't want to see it go in that direction. I don't like seeing a money grab, where everybody's trying to just pull at things. I think there are some people who are younger that really do know how to make a difference and they will, and they'll uphold the standards and they'll keep them going. But that's kind of maybe where I see it going. But on the flip side, the good parts of having these younger people come in is, it advances it. The industry, such as with report writing, cameras or pictures or drones, et cetera. So it does help elevate some of the standards. So I think it's really finding that sweet spot will be the struggle that we're going to end up having down the road. I don't think people really value the community as much. I know my local ASHI group has, dissolved. They're no longer, around, and a lot of great men, like real men, real leaders were in that group. And I learned a lot through them. I learned how to be a professional through that. And I think that's what's kind of lacking is everybody kind of throws these walls up and they hide behind them. And it's a very individualized profession. So, the camaraderie, I think, is starting to lack. And I think that really needs to make a resurgence and a comeback, and people really need to get together and hang out more and have groups and, talk about a real estate agent or talk about, a law that's been passed and complain and commiserate. And I think that helps build character amongst each other, and it strengthens the bonds in the industry. I wrote an article about this in the Ashley Reporter a couple of months ago. If anyone wants to check it out, it's
Okay. What's it called?
I write for them occasionally. It's called Outside the Framing.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah, I shared it on my Facebook page. Check it out. But
okay, I will.
That's where I kind of see it going, and I hope it goes in a good direction, and everybody kind of realizes we got a good thing here. Let's not mess it up, because once enough people mess it up, the government comes in and they're people.
The government is never going.
You're right.
What's the biggest lie you've ever heard? Is I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's where I see it going.
I'm with you, and it's crazy. As I remember being a young guy, it doesn't seem that long ago, and now I'm 49, and I'm like, I'm old now. I'm like, how'd that happen? But you still have the same mind. Just the body isn't quite as responsive as it used to be. But I remember the same thing, and I agree with everything you're saying. But there are some really promising young guys out there, and for all the young guys listening to this, every older generation thinks the younger generation's going to hell. It's happened at the beginning of the time. When I was younger, they always said, we watch too much TV. We're all going to hell. We're watching too much TV. So you guys will be all right, I think. There's differences in the generations and stuff. But, like Matt said, we got a good thing going here. Let's keep this profession going. Try our best to keep the government out of it, because that's never going to help. Right. I'm just telling you, the government always, look what they did to the appraisal industry.
Yeah.
Destroyed that industry.
Yeah.
And, we don't want that to happen. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? How do you handle that?
Oh, my God. If you haven't been, you aren't even doing home inspections.
Right.
I got a phone call. Look, we had an electrician here, and they said you should have caught this. And I say, well, you know what? I never throw them back under the bus. I just had one the other day, and she was a cool client. She was like, or do you think he's trying to run up the bill? And I could have immediately attacked back. And I said, you have to understand maybe what his standards are. And this was an old home. Right. And, the breaker panel was a bit older. It wasn't anything that needed to be replaced, but it was older. And I said, well, it depends on what his standards are. I said, maybe this is what he wants to do. I said, you're very lucky to have an electrician like that in your home. I said, so he's going to care about what he does. Well, he actually really never even said that. What he really said was, there's not enough room in this panel. You need a new panel. This is outdated anyway, because she wanted an electric dryer put in. They had gas. Mm-hmm. So, I always take it as, did the contractor really say that, or is it the client,
budging a little bit? And I've had both. Yeah. I've had, the contractor really throwing us under the bus, but I've also had the client fudging what the contractor said to try to get something new or improved.
Right. Yeah. Usually I just call them, because I don't believe in middlemen. I call them right up when I say, hey, what's going on? And, or I'll go over there and I'll look. And a lot of times they're trying to just get a bigger job out of something. And I'm like, look, man, this is, this house is 145 years old, and just some stuff is just inherited. I really, it's just that's what you get when you have that old of a home. You're going to have some galvanized piping.
Yeah, you know what, Wally, who I mentioned earlier, gave a great example of this in his book. He's like, a 55, 56, 57 Thunderbird, classic, worth probably $80,000 in good shape. One of the most classic automobiles in the world. But when you're buying that, you're not getting anti-lock brakes. You're not getting airbags. You're not getting, all this, by today's standards, it's a death trap. But if you put all those things on that, you would destroy the value and the character of that car. Now, I'm not saying that an older home, you don't put a smoke detector or you don't.
Right.
But you're buying a 55 Thunderbird, and it's like, that Carnival glass, they couldn't make large pieces of glass very clear back in the day. So it's like Carnival, That's very valuable. You don't want to replace that. I mean, or if you do replace it for energy reasons, save that because that's very valuable.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of, everything comes full circle. My dad said, you know, when he was young, all the poor people, him, you know, wore jeans. Only like people who had money could wear like khakis or something like, and now that's going full circle. And when carpet first came out, only rich people could afford carpet. Poor people had wood floors, and now it's the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we're winding down here. What's the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you've ever found on inspection?
I walked in on a suicide, not like it happening, but like the aftermath of it. Yeah, that was pretty traumatic. That actually messed me up for a little while. You know, because you know I always do the basement last, and you know I was going through the house, and like you know he had a family there. Went down in the basement, and you know seeing that really that sucked, man. That was something I wish I never saw. You know, and you know, come to find out, the people still wanted to buy the home. So they wanted me to go back to the house to do a water test because they needed additional water testing for a VA loan. And I went back by myself. And man, I don't ever get spooked out. I'm not afraid of many things, but it was definitely a vivid time in my life.
Was it a gunshot? Was it a gunshot?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like,
surprised they didn't have a cleanup crew come in. You know, I mean, I hope I'm not revealing too much information here, but you know,
well, no one knew.
My wife's sister. You know, they have cleanup crews that specialize in that come. I'm surprised. So they never cleaned it up or anything.
Oh no, no one knew what happened.
The person was still there.
Yeah.
Holy cow! How long did it happen? I thought it was just the hole.
No.
So how long had it before you came? Did it happen?
I don't know. I'm not too sure. I mean,
Holy cow, dude!
Yeah.
Oh my God! Sorry, I thought you were just saying that it was like the mess, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I as sick as it sounds, I've been accustomed, and I'm sure for you too, because you work in.
My dad.
I mean, seeing deceased bodies was. I mean, it wasn't anything.
They got me to sort of go over there because, I mean, if you're in that profession, you can separate it, you know.
Right. And I did in the medical field because I used to go to the morgue all the time.
Right. I mean,
a lot of the
yes,
time
it's very sad, and but it's a job, and you're like, it's the job. I feel for people because they're anguish and pain, but if I had let myself get too involved, I can't do my job.
Yeah. It was. I wasn't ready for that, and that really wasn't a job, you know. And I'm going through somebody's house.
Yeah.
He had kids and all that. I was like, wow, man, this was that was not my favorite day, and that worked me up pretty good for a while, man. I was, you know,
I've seen
a lot.
I mean, and I don't mean to now change gears or top your story. I told you what my father did. He had the contract for the medical examiner in Chapel Hill, and so he went out, and I went to a lot of those scenes with him. Like I was a 14-year-old kid, but again, I don't have night because it was a job. But you know, I can remember some things like, you know, I don't know. I hope we're not getting too far off track, but I remember a guy did on the front steps of his ex-wife's house, and this was back. And this is not for or against gun control or anything. I'm just telling you, he had the receipt for the shotgun in his pocket. So he had went out, bought the shotgun, and did it on his ex-wife's front steps right before she got off work. Because it was like, and I'm just like, God, you know, going back to that circle like you're talking about. I mean, how did you get to this point? I mean, you know, and I mean, I'm not making it littler, but God, man, if you're that far down, I don't know. It just makes you realize, like, golly. I mean, I don't know. It messed me up a little bit too, but you know, I try to turn everything like you do. Like, you know, how do I recognize this if it's ever happening to me or it's happening to somebody else, that it doesn't get to this point, and you know, can I prevent something like this, whether it be myself or somebody else? You know, but again, it's the circle. You know, I can't control what's outside that circle, but if I see somebody having trouble, at least, I don't know, offer friendship in a listening ear or something.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That was, I don't know, man. That was definitely a dark day, but yeah, we don't got to keep talking about it either.
Yeah, sorry, man. I didn't mean to take you down that rabbit hole. Well, Matt, is there anything in your business right now that you're excited about, or that you worked up about, or that you're working on?
I did go down to Florida, about a month and a half ago, and I talked at one of the, the associations down there on, some marketing and sales tactics stuff, and something I'm trying to get a little more into and go around and provide value. A lot of what we talked about here. So I have, I organized. I didn't create. I organized a presentation. I call it influential communication, and it's how to communicate with people and how to understand people. And words mean things, through your tonality, how to answer phone calls, etc. And do that. So, I'm definitely excited for that. That's really, I feel really good when I can provide that type of value to people.
It's awesome, man.
I'm just a happy person, man, where I'm at now, and there's nothing really outside of what I'm doing now that I'm, that I'm like super excited for, but other than this talk thing is, it's pretty exciting. I like it. Yeah, I got good reception from it there. And, I got to meet, James Gonti, the Inspector Brotherhood. He's a good guy, showed me a really good time, and I was very grateful for it. So yeah, I mean, that's always exciting.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to end it on this last question, and we're actually going to do another interview after this. We'll probably take a 5-minute break or something, but
okay.
People are listening. Matt and I have been talking, and Matt does podcasts as well, or does some interviews. So he asked me, and I said, sure, but let's just do them both. But on the next one, and if you're listening to this first, go listen to his after, but he's going to be asking me the questions. But last question here. I used to say if you had $5,000, this was my standard question, to start off marketing in a new market. I'm going to change it a little bit. Kind of the same question, but kind of not. I'm just going to say, Matt, with all your experience and you're doing well, and, you've had some ups and downs, obviously. And, yeah, I mean, your life almost reads like one of those good documentaries. It's like bad times got successful. There was some perils of the success, too much success. What advice would you give to somebody that comes to you that wants to get into the home inspection profession, and they're sincere? They're not just, you get it all the time until they find out, oh, wait a minute, you got to do all this? No, I'm not doing it. But there are some that are sincere. What advice would you give them?
Well, I would have to understand really why they would want to do it. Are you doing it for the money? Do you think this is, did they watch me do it and, make $600 in a couple hours? Or, do you want this because, what's their why? That's how I would sniff that out first. And if their why were the same as, kind of what mine is, or, they want to uphold, just at least uphold the standards of the profession, I would probably just take them along with me, man. I would really direct them, to not make the same mistakes I did. And that's with everything. I would really try to turn them on to as much as possible. I have done this. I brought them to local ASHI meeting groups when they were still available. I would probably invite them to go to NACHI conferences, etc. So you can really submerge yourself into this culture and these people. That's the only way really to do it, to get both feet into it. A lot of people want to dabble. They want to do it on the side. And I think sometimes that can hurt the business. Yeah. So I would really try to bring someone in as close as I could so that they could keep upholding the standards of the profession. I think a lot of people do the opposite. They try to give little information. They become scared. They look at them as competition. And I believe to do just the opposite, because it does help the standards become elevated. It does help us become better. And you have another ally out there. And I will say this, man, I get a lot of inspections from fellow inspectors. That is a referral source for me because they can't get to. They all have families.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm a single guy. I can work 25 hours a day if I want to. I don't really have too many responsibilities lingering behind me. So I would just for me, I would have somebody else who I know would have my back and would be protecting me out there when somebody does try to throw me under the bus or does want to talk bad about me. So that's exactly what I would do. That's the advice I would give, is just be there, be a friend for them.
Awesome. Well, Matt, you've been fantastic, man. Lots of good advice, some writer downers. For all the listeners out there, if you got value out of Matt, let's go give this guy some likes on his Facebook business page. And so a couple of things. What are your Facebook business page so they can go give you some likes? Because let's give this guy a little bit of value. I think that helps him with his SEO. And is there a way, if somebody wants to follow up with you, learn more about you, follow up on something you said, can they email you? And I'll let it go at that.
Yeah, no, you definitely hit me up. You can hit me on Facebook. I have a business page for my influential communication seminar. If anybody's interested.
Oh yeah, sure.
In any of their groups or any of the meetings, I have no problem coming out and offering some advice or some insight to make people better. And then in turn, I get to learn about a different region and how they do things, so I become better. So it's a win-win for me. I get to understand people a little bit more. So it's called Influential Communications. It is my Facebook page. I have my personal Facebook page. Although my name is Matt Smith, we should probably, whenever we post this or put it up, it can be a little bit easier. But it is tough to find and sift through all the Matt Smiths on Facebook. But,
yeah, and there's a Matt Smith who's the marketing guy.
Yeah.
The first time I heard your name, James was saying, "Yeah, we got Matt Smith down here." I'm like, I was thinking it was the other one, and then, so.
That happens a lot.
I've actually interviewed both of you.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. He has some really good stuff. I listen to. He works for Warren Home Inspections, which is
up in Boston there.
Yeah, large group.
Rory.
Yeah, and he has great insight too. So I don't think you go wrong either, Matt Smith. But if any home inspectors are listening out there, you can search for me. And I think I'm in most of the groups. The Nachi group, Inspector Brotherhood, Referral Exchange, all those groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can find me out.
Okay, and the name of if they wanted to go to your business, is it Ace acehomeinspection.com, or what is it? Is that your home?
It's Ace Home Inspections and #1.com.
Ace Home Inspection #1.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Matt. Well, I usually say I'll catch you on the flip side, but I'm going to catch you in about 5 minutes.
All right, man.
But hang on a second. I'm going to turn the recording off for